Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. We will get started with today's session, story of Ganga Devi. Surya dynasty, Sagara was one of the kings. He is the ancestor of Rama, much before Rama. So he's like the great grandfather of Rama. And he was a great king. He had two wives, and with the help of the sage, the two wives were blessed with children. The first wife had one child called Asamanjasa. The second wife, she asked the sage that she wanted lots of children. The sage said, okay, so be it, and he blessed her that way. So the second wife had 60,000 children, and they're called the Sagaras because they're the sons of Sagara. And Asamanjasa, if you remember, he is the bad guy, very oddball in the Surya dynasty. We don't hear any bad characters or evil characters in the Surya dynasty. It is a lineage of excellent people and kings. So Sagara wouldn't tolerate any of that. Sagara, being the king, would not justify or would not tolerate, even though Asamanjasa was his son. He kicked him out of his kingdom and banned him into his kingdom for life. Asamanjasa had a son named Anshuman. Anshuman stayed with his grandfather, Sagara, and he helped him in all the administrative work. So imagine how strong of a king Sagara would be. 60,000 sons and Anshuman by his side and taking care of the administration. Then we talked about yagas and yajnas, the holy fire in the middle. Different kinds of yagas would be done for different purposes. And when the kings are doing well and when the kings are in the righteous path, doing the right things, they always take part in these rituals. There is one yajna that all these kings of Surya dynasty would follow. It is called the Ashwamedha Yagam. Ashwa means horse. Since this yagam, in this yagam, the key participant is a horse. So it is called the Ashwamedha Yagam. What happens in this yagam is there is a beautiful, powerful horse that gets very well decorated. And while the Ritviks perform the yagam mantras and all the holy rituals that should be done for the yagam, they decorate this horse and they leave it onto the kingdom. Not only their kingdom, to the surrounding kingdoms and to the country also. So the horse goes into different countries, and that is like a challenge by itself. Wherever the horse goes in that country, the king will have two options. It is to either say, oh Sagara, you're great, I surrendered you. You let me be the king and I will be your subordinate and I will follow your instructions and rule my kingdom. Or the king can say, okay, I'm not going to accept your supremacy here. Let's battle. Whoever wins takes it all. So in that way, the yagam continues for days and days and days while the horse goes around and occupies various different kingdoms. So as I told before, Sagara is very powerful. 60,000 of his army is his sons alone. Who would mess with him? And he is from the lineage of Surya dynasty, very strong, very powerful, very spiritual. So all the kings, as expected, they surrendered to him and they said, okay, you are supreme. We'll be your subordinates. I don't want any battle with you. I don't want any trouble with you. So that was going on in a picture perfect manner. They were really happy with the outcome, how things were going on. The Ritviks were continuing the yagam and everything was going good. So Sagara was very happy. So meanwhile, Indra was jealous to see that Sagara is succeeding in this yagam, performing this yagam. In this context, what happens is when a king performs these yagas, many of these yagas, he will become eligible to become Indra. Indra is not a name, Indra is a position. Like the president of India. Somebody is a president of India now. In a few years, somebody else will be a president. So like that, Indra, it's not a name, it is a position given to somebody to rule all the gods or to be the king of all the gods. So when a king performs all these great yagas and yajnas and succeed in them, it gives them eligibility to become the king of gods, to become Indra. So it is just like a political scenario, right? You know, in the elections, one party tries to stop the other party. Same thing. Indra, he wants to protect his chair. He wants to protect his throne. As simple as that. So what he does from time to time, when he sees threat from human kings who are getting close to the eligibility of the position of Indra, he gets a little jealous. He gets a little threatened. So in the same manner, here in this context also, Indra got a little threatened and got a little jealous of Sagara. So what did he do? He knows that the key to this particular yagam is horse, the ashvam, because the horse has to go to different places and it has to conquer, it has to come back to the yagasala wherever the yagam is being performed, and then they will complete the ritual. If they don't have the horse, they don't have the yagam. They don't know what to do next. So he thought of a plan and he said, okay, since the horse is the key for this entire yagam, I know how to interrupt this yagam. So he went and with his magic powers, with his divine powers, he disappeared along with the horse. He made the horse vanish from the kingdom where the horse was at that point of time. And then he took the horse and went to Patala. Patala is the world beneath earth. So there is another world underneath this surface of earth, many miles underneath. And that world is called Patala, and it is supposed to be very hot. So he went there and he knows that this great Rishi, a sage named Kapila, he is also another form of Vishnu. He is named as Sage Kapila, and all he does all the time, he is always doing tapas and he is always chanting the name of the god. So if it is so hot, how is this Rishi, how is this sage Kapila surviving in that heat? Because that is the divine powers they acquire by the tapas, by their spiritual powers. They are able to sustain those temperatures, they are able to sustain those kind of conditions, right? So Kapila was doing his penance, his tapas, very focused. He was meditating. He has no idea what's going on around. How can that happen, right? You always have an idea what is going on around. Imagine you're playing a video game, or imagine you're watching something on TV that really interests you. Your mom comes and puts some fruits or a glass of milk on the table. You didn't even know when she came and when she put and when she left. Did that happen to you ever? That is the place where you were. You didn't know what was going on around. Your mom, she came into the room, she put something on the table, you had no idea. So that is how much you were involved in what you were doing. So same thing with Kapila. He was so much involved in this meditation mode that he was in. He had no idea what was going on around. He is completely within himself and he was completely dedicated to the god. Okay. So Indra quietly he went and he left the horse near where Kapila was doing his tapas. He tied the horse there and quietly he left from there. Very sneaky, right? Somebody comes later and looks at it, what will it look like? It'll look like Kapila Maharshi or sage Kapila had something to do with the horse, isn't it? So that is his plan. So he knows how powerful Kapila Maharshi is, and he knows that if he puts the horse there, that will get Sagara into trouble. So he left the horse with Kapila Maharshi behind Kapila Maharshi, and he vanished from there and he went back to his kingdom. So meanwhile, in the Yagashala, Sagara was getting worried. He sent all his messengers, the small army that went behind the horses. They came back and they said, we have no idea where the horse is. So immediately he called his 60,000 sons. He has a big search party. He has 60,000 sons to do his activities. They can be his army, they can be his search party, they can be his guards. He's equipped with everything. He has 60,000 sons to do all these things, right? So Sagara said, I don't know what you will do. Go to all corners of the world. I want that horse found. Immediately, they divided themselves into different search parties. They went around the world. They started looking everywhere on the surface of the earth. They couldn't find the horse because it is not on the surface of the earth. So they came back to Sagara and they gave the news saying, we looked everywhere, father, we can't find the horse anywhere. Then Sagara got angry. He's like, I don't care. You cannot come back. Do not come back without finding the whereabouts of the horse. If it is not on the surface of the earth, look in other worlds. There are other worlds go under the earth, look there, go to the world of gods, look there, but do not come back empty-handed without the horse. Those are the instructions given by Sagara to the 60,000 sons. So they really got angry. So they never get shouted at by their dad. So they were like really took it as a challenge, and they said, okay, let's do this. Let's dig deep holes that will give us path to go into this world underneath earth, to go into Patala. Then they started digging holes. They started making big, huge holes. Again, 60,000 people along with their armies. So they have the manpower, they have the muscle to do that. So as they started digging, once you dig deep, what will happen? Water will start coming out from earth, right? So as they started digging holes, the water, huge quantities of water started coming out. Those are the oceans that we know of this day. So in Sanskrit, oceans are called as Sagaras. The name Sagaras came after the king Sagara and their sons Sagaras. The name of oceans in Sanskrit became Sagaras because they dug holes and created these huge water bodies, which we call as oceans now. So they dug and then they were able to go into the world underneath earth, the realm of Patala, and they started looking everywhere in Patala. They saw Kapila Maharshi doing his tapas. So they're so tired, they're frustrated, they're angry, they're eager to take the horse back. So in that eagerness, in that frustration, they immediately jumped into a conclusion that maybe the sage Kapila stole the horse and brought him to Patala. So if they were in a steady mind, if they took a deep breath there and they thought, okay, let's think about it. This is a sage who gave up all the worldly matters and he is not even on earth. He came to Patala so that he doesn't get disturbed. So he gave up everything and he is in Patala, so he must be very powerful. What will he do with the horse? That too, a Yaga horse. Why will he bring it here? They didn't think any of that because they're frustrated. They're angry. They took a decision when they were in that mood. So our adults, they always tell us, right? Do not take any decisions when you're angry or when you're frustrated or when you're in hurry. Before you say something hasty that you cannot take back, or before you decide on something that you shouldn't have decided on, take a deep breath. Take that couple of minutes with a steady mind, make a decision or say something. It'll stabilize, it'll settle down your mind, and then it'll help you make the right decision. So they did not do that. They were really angry and they agitated each other and they said, okay, let's get this Rishi and let's punish him for what he has done. And all of them, they started yelling and they started charging towards the Rishi. So 60,000 people making all that ruckus and running towards him immediately. That made a lot of noise and that disturbed the meditation of sage Kapila. He came out of his trance, he came out of his meditation and he opened his eyes. And he saw this huge army, he don't know who they are. And he then realized that they are coming to attack him. And then he opened his eyes in a very angry manner with red eyes. He said, and huge fires came from his eyes and they destroyed all 60,000 sons of Sagara. They were burnt in that huge fire and they were made into ashes. So that is the spiritual power of sage Kapila. So all of them died immediately and a huge heap of ash was formed there. So sage Kapila, again, he went back into his meditation. And what is happening in the Yagam? So they were waiting in the Yagasala again when they are going to bring the horse back to the Yagasala, right? Sagara, he waited and waited. He couldn't wait anymore. It has been a while. So he called upon Anshuman. Remember Anshuman? Anshuman is the son of Asamanyasa, grandson of Sagara. So Anshuman, he said, okay, I'm going to take care of this. I'll go and look where uncles are. I will bring the horse back. So he followed the footsteps of where his uncles went. He followed them into Patala. He was told this is the path they took, and he followed along. And he came and he saw huge heaps of ashes, a sage who is meditating with his eyes closed, and a horse behind the sage. So he immediately put two and two together he realized his uncles went hasty on Sage Kapila, and Sage Kapila punished them in turn and killed them and made them into heaps of ashes. So he was in a huge dilemma there because he was very much in sorrow that he lost all his uncles because of this unfortunate incident that happened. And on the other hand, he knows his grandfather is waiting in the Yagasala for him to bring back the horse. He has a duty that he has to fulfill so that the yaga can be completed. And the third angle to this is his dilemma. All these uncles that died there, their ashes are lying there. Then, according to the Hindu scriptures, according to the Hindu rituals, all those ashes should be washed in holy water so that their souls can be liberated and they can go to heavens. He knows the souls can only be liberated if the ashes get washed in holy water. So his dilemma, he didn't know whether he should feel sorry for his uncles, he should take back the horse, leaving the heaps of ashes there, or he should bring waters and salvage their souls. So Garuda, who is the vehicle of Vishnu, he is a relative. He is a maternal grand uncle to Anshuman. He came and he said, "You cannot handle this task of bringing water to Patala now. Patala, it's very hot here. Whatever you bring, it has to have divine powers to sustain in this temperature. So, right now, your duty is to take back the horse and complete the yaga. Your grandfather is waiting. So, take the horse and go back to the earth and finish the yaga. And then think about how you can salvage the souls of your uncles." So Anshuman immediately followed the orders of Garuda. He took the horse and he went back to the Yagashala. The Yagam, Ashwamedha Yagam, Sagara completed it with a very sorrowful, with a very heavy heart because he lost his sons also, right? So for many years, Sagara took care of the kingdom. He was the king and he became very, very old. And his son Asamanjasa, everybody remembers he got banned for life to come back to the kingdom, so he's not in the picture anymore. And the 60,000 sons of Sagaras, they died in Patala by the angry looks of Sage Kapila. They are not in the picture anymore. Anshuman, he inherited the kingdom after Sagara. He ruled the kingdom for many, many years in a very grand manner. And Anshuman, one thing bothered him throughout his life, that how to salvage the souls of his uncles and how to bring waters into Patala. But he couldn't think of anything, so he left it and he gave the responsibility to his son Dilipa. So after Anshuman became old, Dilipa got the responsibilities of the kingdom. Along with those responsibilities, he got the responsibilities of salvaging the souls of the 60,000 grand uncles also. That issue didn't get resolved. So Dilipa also ruled the kingdom for many, many years, but he couldn't think of a solution as well. After that, he became old and he gave the responsibilities of the kingdom and the responsibilities of the grand uncles, the salvation of their souls, to his son Bhagiratha. Bhagiratha, finally, he took all the responsibilities. He became the king of Kosala and he was ruling the kingdom very nicely, like his ancestors. And he was told about this responsibility by his ministers, by his priests, and by his dad, Dilipa. So one day he started thinking about this great responsibility that he has, not only with the kingdom, but also with salvaging the souls of his uncles by taking holy waters into Patala and washing up their ashes there. So Bhagiratha, he decided and he called upon his ministers and said, "I have to take care of this responsibility. It has been too long and my uncles, grand uncles are suffering there because their souls are not liberated." So he gave all the responsibilities to his ministers. He explained them what to do and how to do things. And he left to do penance, tapas. Remember tapas, giving up all the worldly things and only meditating upon God. For various reasons, people do that. For Bhagiratha, he is doing to fulfill his responsibility. Because as a human, he doesn't know how to do this, accomplish this. So he is seeking the help of God. So I will pause there and I will point out one thing. Bhagiratha, he was the king of a great vast kingdom called Koshala. Big armies, luxurious lifestyle, ministers, servants, jewelry, all the precious things that he has, money, gold, diamonds. He said, okay, I have all these things. I don't care. He went giving up all these luxurious lifestyle to take care of his responsibility. That is one highlight of this story that we all have to remember. That is what we learn from this great story. That is what we learn from Bhagiratha. Always remember. So he did severe penance, tapas for years and years and years for Lord Brahma. Brahma was very, very impressed, and he came down to earth and he said, oh, Bhagiratha, I'm very, very impressed with your penance. What do you want? So we keep hearing these stories with Rakshasas, with demons. We go through these stories. The common thing that they ask is immortality. I shouldn't be defeated. I should never be killed. I should be ruling the entire world. Everybody should be my subordinates. I should be above everybody. That is what they normally ask. That is why they're called as demons. Because they're thinking of me, I want. Bhagiratha here, he asked, my uncles, grand uncles, they're suffering there for many, many years. But waters cannot go into Patala. I want you to give me a solution how to solve this, how to liberate their souls. Brahma said, very good, very selfless wish you asked, but there is nothing I can do about it. There is holy waters in heaven, Ganga. So he said, Ganga Devi is capable of doing that. But to bring Ganga Devi onto earth from the heavens, I am not capable of doing that. You have to pray to Lord Shiva to help you with that. Bhagiratha, he said, I pray to you. Thank you for your advice. I will start praying for Lord Shiva. Again, a pause to talk about the greatness of Bhagiratha. One thing, he sacrificed everything and he came and he did the penance for years and years and years. Lord Brahma came himself. He said, I can't do anything. After years and years of penance, he says, I can't do anything. What should he do? Okay, I tried my best. If Brahma can't do anything, what can I do? I am just a human. Let me go back. I gave up all these things for so many years. I did my part. Maybe my kids or my kids' kids, somebody will take care. I brought it so far. They'll take care from here. He could have thought like that, right? He said, Brahma, he showed me a path, Lord Brahma. I'm going to follow that path. I'm going to accomplish this for the sake of my grand uncles. He again started a penance from scratch. Again, that years and years that went to bringing Brahma. Now to bring Shiva, again years and years from the beginning. So he did that penance, severe penance again, giving up everything, tapas he did. And Lord Shiva was impressed with his penance again. And Lord Shiva himself, he came and he stood in front of Bhagiratha. He said, Bhagiratha, I'm really impressed with your prayers. What do you want? Then Bhagiratha, he asked, he said, my grand uncles are suffering. So I want you to liberate my grand uncles from that suffering, and I want you to bring Ganga Devi onto earth so that I can take her to Patala and wash the ashes of my uncles with that holy water. Lord Shiva thought about it, and they're very happy when people ask something like this selflessly. Lord Shiva also knows the importance of Ganga Devi coming onto earth. Many humans will be spiritually enriched by the presence of Ganga Devi on earth. So he immediately agreed and he said, okay, I will help you with that. But there is a problem here. Ganga Devi, she flows with great force. If we ask her to directly flow from heaven onto earth will tremble. So Lord Shiva recognized that and he said, earth won't be able to take that kind of force. What I will do is, I will have her fall on my head first, and then I will slowly stream the waters onto the earth so that the force of falling won't be impacting earth. Then he called upon Ganga Devi. He said, you have to do this task for Bhagiratha. You flow onto my head and I will slowly release you onto earth. And then you can go along with Bhagiratha and you can help him go to Patala. So Ganga Devi, she laughed. And Ganga Devi, she looked at Lord Shiva and said, you can take my force? I don't think so. You are thinking I can fall onto your head and you can slowly release my force onto earth. But imagine how much pain you will have when my force falls onto your head. You won't be able to tolerate it. Let me show you my force. That's what Ganga Devi thought inside her mind. Again, sometimes they get all these egos, and sometimes it is just funny how they also start thinking like humans. She forgot who she is dealing with. Lord Shiva, he is the protector of the universe. He is the Parabrahma. He is the ultimate strength. She forgot about that momentarily, and she started thinking about how much stronger she is than Shiva, and she started flowing onto his head with great force. And he is in the mind of everybody. He is in the heart of everybody. He knows what everybody is thinking. Lord Shiva, he immediately realized, oh, okay, you are going through this ego phase. Let me teach you a lesson. So she is falling onto the earth. It is not impacting him at all. So his big hair, he is absorbing all the water that is falling onto his hair, and not one drop is coming out. And he is just standing there like it is not even impacting him at all. She's falling for years and years, and not one drop is coming out. Then she realized, what is happening? What is happening to these thousands and millions of gallons of water that is going? Where is all that water going? And I'm falling with such force. Why is Lord Shiva not getting impacted by that force? Then she realized, Lord Shiva is the energy. He is the power of powers. He is the supreme energy that gives energy to others. Then she prayed to him, and she said, for momentarily, I got ego struck in my head and I forgot your ultimate strength. Forgive me. And then Bhagirath also prayed to him, O great Lord Shiva, release the waters so I can fulfill my task. So Lord Shiva forgave Ganga Devi, and he blessed Bhagirath, and he said, okay, I'm going to now release these waters onto the earth. You can lead the path and you can make her follow wherever you want the water to go. So he released the waters onto the earth, and Bhagiratha, he started going in front, and Ganga Devi started following, because that's a lot of water coming through, right? Some streams went into east, some streams went to the west direction, and one stream started following Bhagiratha. He started showing the path, and he started going in front, so Ganga Devi can follow him. So they were going, and Ganga Devi, she was going with real speed, and Bhagiratha is also going with real speed. Lots of water turning, taking the turns, going through the valleys, going through the mountains, and they were going great distances. So as they were going through, there was this very divine, very serene cottage, ashram, and they went through the ashram, and since the water bodies there expanded, right, it washed away all the surroundings and the cottage also, and it washed away all the belongings of the ashram there. That ashram belonged to a sage named Jahnu. He came and he saw that all his ashram is filled with water. The cottage where house used to be, it got flooded away by the waters. He realized that Ganga Devi hastily went through this area and she wiped out the surroundings of the ashram. He got angry, and what he did, he opened up his palm and he drank away all the water, the entire stream that was following Bhagiratha. Again, the power of spirituality, right? Not one or two glasses, the entire stream that was following the Bhagiratha, he drank away everything. Bhagiratha looked back and there is no water. It's like, what happened? There's a lot big streams of water following through with the great sound of water flowing through different curves. And suddenly there is this silence, all the water vanished. What happened? So he came back and he looked at Jahnu and he prayed to him and he explained his story and he explained how Lord Shiva blessed him to help. And Jahnu Maharshi, they're always thinking of Loka Kalyanam and the benefit of others. So he saw the greatness in the entire story, how Bhagiratha accomplished an impossible task, how Ganga Devi is helping Bhagiratha, and in that help, she overlooked a small thing of his ashram. So he forgave everybody and he released Ganga Devi from his right ear. He drank it all from the mouth and he released from the right ear. A big stream of water started flowing through. Since the waters came through the ears of Jahnu Maharshi, Ganga Devi is also known as Jahnavi. So he is like a father to her. Then Bhagiratha, again, he continued the path and he took Ganga Devi to the Patala, where all the heaps and heaps of ashes that were lying in the Patala. They were washed, and all the grand uncles of Bhagirath, their souls got liberated. Their souls ascended to the heavens. As they were ascending to the heavens, they blessed Bhagirath for the great task that he accomplished, not only for them. He accomplished the task of bringing Ganga Devi onto earth. Because of Bhagirath, humans, as we all have this great gift. So it starts from the upper north corner of India, and it flows all the way to the east corner, and it flows into Bay of Bengal. So all the people, many thousands and thousands and thousands of people go to the banks of Ganga, and they take holy baths in river Ganga, and they get liberated from all their sins, and they get the benefit of taking a bath in Ganga, because it's a heavenly body of water. It is possible only because of the great task that is done by Bhagiratha. So that is the great story of Sagara, his sons and his grandsons, and Bhagiratha, and how Ganga Devi was brought on to earth by the penance of Bhagiratha. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sarvam Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.